Welcome back. So we had stopped here where we could, actually fire even after looking up, and that was a very important task that we accomplished. Now, one little thing that I forgot to do in the last video is to add a sound to my firing. So right now I can just fire, but no sound coming out, which is sounding not good at all. So I'll go over to my, let's say I go over to my starter content if I can find my starter content, and I just need to look for explosion. Okay, and then I'll just open up my, so I'll just look, not, I'll just see, that's the explosion queue. Okay, not great. Let's see if I can find audio, and let's look for other sounds. Yeah, that's fire, and steam 1 collapse. Okay, I think I'm going to use this. So explosion queue. Okay, so this is inside starter content. So I'll just go over to my assets, blueprints, weapons, and if I go over to my weapon base, and not weapon but projectiles, sorry, and if I go over to my projectile base and look here, and inside here if I can add an audio component, okay, and that would be with the, okay, that's fine. Now I'll just go over to my starter content again and audio, and click on explosion queue, come back here, and I'll just try that. Okay, and that's explosion queue, and let's see what happens. And I think it's a little too loud, so I'm going to go back here and bring it down to 0.3. Okay, and run around. I'm good with that. Okay, great. I'm happy with that. So for now, of course, we're going to change it later, but for now, there's a basic sound that's added, which we'll replace later on. We'll work with it a little more, maybe, if it's not sounding good, but that's good. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be working on creating, fully automatic AK-47. So right now it's burst. It's just one click and it's just one bullet. So if you keep your mouse pressed, if you keep your left mouse button pressed, it still only shoots one bullet. We need to change that. So if I keep my mouse button pressed, so I need this to be functioning like a real AK-47, and I want this to fire in an automatic firing mode. All right, so let's see how that thing is done. Okay, so for us to set up a weapon as an automatic weapon, so first I'll have to close all of this. I don't need the blend space right now. I do not need this guy either. I need this. I don't need the animation blueprint. We'll come back to this later. So now it's clean. Now I have to look for the weapon blueprint, and I'll have to go for the weapon base, AK-47. So this is the weapon, which is looking pretty neat. Anyways, so the first thing is we need two things in order for we just need actually one thing for the fully automatic functionality to be written, and beyond the fully automatic, we also going to give it some ammo count. Like this magazine can only hold probably around, I don't know, 30 bullets or 50 bullets. So we have to put that counter there. Like this magazine can only hold 30 or 50 bullets, and it cannot fire beyond that. So you'll have to reload your gun with a new magazine. Okay, so we'll also implement that. So first, let's create variables for both of these features. First would be for the ammo. So for the ammo count, okay, and this will be an integer because you don't need a float. You can't have half a bullet. So I'll first compile this and I'll give it a default value of, let's say, 50 bullets per magazine. Next, I need to create another variable, and this will be the fire rate, the rate at which this fires. Will also determine this is needed for us to create the fully automatic feature for the weapon. This will be a float value because this involves time. So I'm going to click float and I'm going to compile this, so that should work as well. So for the fire rate, let's give it a fire rate of, let's say, I don't know, 10 shots a second. So I'll say 0.1, that's the fire rate. So 0.1 into 10, that would be 1. So every 1 second will be able to fire 10 rounds. So that's my fire rate. Of course, you can tweak this because it's a variable later on. So let's get into the event graph and let's make some changes here. Instead of working inside the fire custom event here, instead let's open up our third person character blueprint. And if I go over to my third person BP and blueprints, and here it is. So we have written our fire input inside here, and for the input action primary fire, so this is where it's happening. As you could see that, it's not having anything, as soon as you press, it's going into the fire and it's starting to fire. It's not checking for any ammo. It's not checking, it doesn't have any loop inside, no conditions or anything as such, which we're going to set up right now. So the first thing is I'll have to disconnect this because I don't want this guy to fire right away. And I'll just move this a little bit to the right for now. And this can be here. And first I need a variable, okay? And I'll put this in the weapons category. So inside the weapons category, I'll say, let's say is firing. That'll be a Boolean. And I have to set this up for the weapons category. There you go. Now, when I press the left mouse button, I want to set is firing. Okay, so I'll just say set is firing. Okay, and I'll set this to true first. Okay, and I'll do the same thing for released. When I release my button, so I'll say set is firing, and this won't be set to true, it'll be set to false. Okay, so then the first time when it's fired, it needs to fire the weapon right away. That's okay. Okay, I need to check that. And okay, and then after that, when it fires, I'll have to have a delay. I'll get a delay here. Okay, and the delay will be, let me put this here so that I can access the variable from here, or maybe I'll just do this. I'll have to get the fire rate, so I'll say get fire rate, and this fire rate will be connected to the duration. Okay, so every 0.1 seconds, I want to fire first. Once I press the primary fire, the is firing flag is made to true. And then I want to fire the weapon, and then I want to have a delay of 0.1 second. And after that, then we're going to need a branch to check whether it's still firing. So I'm going to need a branch, and this will be checking whether is firing is true or not. Okay, and I'll just put that in here like this and push this in a little bit here. And if it is true, if it's still firing, if the button is still pressed, okay, we know that when it comes here, when you press the button, it comes back to is firing, right? And when it is true, then after a delay of 0.1, which means that I want to make this a fully automatic. So I'll reroute this back to fire, okay? And this is what I'll do. Now I'll just make this a little bit neater. I'll put this up here and like this, okay? And if it is false, which means that is firing, the button has been released, the mouse button has been released, I don't want to do anything, okay? I want to do nothing when the button has been released. And anyways, it's going on to is firing is false, so none of these things will work. So when I hit compile, save, go back here, and let me start firing. All right, great. So actually I got my mouse button pressed. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now if you want to change this, you can change this. The fire rate can be even lower than that, or maybe the fire rate can be higher. So the lower the number here, the higher the fire rate. So I can make this 0.05. Okay, let's see. So that would be 20 bullets a second. There you go. Awesome. So this works. Okay, so now let's work on the ammo part. So now that we already have an ammo, we have an ammo variable. So let's put that to use. And before I do that, what I'm gonna do now is I will create a new folder inside, and I'll say game modes. Okay, and I'll move this game mode inside Blueprint. I'm gonna move this game mode down here like this, and I'll say move here, and it's gonna move everything. And for the third person character, I'm gonna move this character to the character folder, and I'll say move here. Okay, and if I rename this, let's say first I'll save all. Yes, I want to save. Okay, I'm gonna rename this to, let's say, player character. Okay, I think player is good enough. So once we have that, and once you open that up and everything is good, and capsule component, player self, and everything should be good. And of course, when you see at places where we are casting it to a third person character, that should automatically change it to let's see if I can find that. Let's see, animations. I'm looking for animations, character, not the blueprints, I'm sorry. And let's look at save all again.